Hello, hello. It's Elaine Walsh-McGrath here with the gorgeous Mindi Trimble on the business spotlight today. And I can't wait to hear all about Mindy's business, as I'm sure you won't either, because she is an amazing college prep coach and mentor. And I wonder, do some of you even realize that that's a thing? Oh, and it is. And that's why I do the business spotlight. I want you all to tune in to hear about businesses that wonderful, talented people are creating, just like Mindy, so that you can go, okay, actually, I have a talent and a passion that I want to pursue. And today I'm so thrilled to have Mindy here with me and listen to everything about her business and her journey. Hey, Mindy, welcome to the Business Spotlight.
I'm so glad to be here. I am so thankful that you extended an invitation. It's a pleasure.
Oh no, the pleasure is mine. But anyway, let's not do the
Okay.
compliment tennis
No,
table tennis because I could
no, we're
all
getting
day
down to
long.
business.
I get down to business. Um, okay, so I know what you do as a college
Mhm.
prep coach and mentor, but maybe nobody else gets what that is. Talk to me. Like,
Right.
what do you do? Like, what? Talk to me about your business.
Right. So there are actually a wide variety of college prep coaches that can actually specialize in different parts of the college application process. But at least here in the US, you will hear kind of all of us referred to as independent educational consultants. Now, I call myself a college coach or college prep coach or mentor. And what I do specifically is, and I actually stole this from a student a few years ago who said, Mindy, you're like the bubble wrap of college prep. And I was like, wait, what? And she said, you were really fun and you helped me, de-stress and we were just popping around with ideas for what I could do in, what classes I could take and what I could do with my summers and extracurriculars. And then you also really made the application process a lot less stressful because we were popping off ideas. But you also made sure that I didn't crack under pressure as just like bubble wrap. So I said, okay, I'm taking it. So that's my message. And that's thank you to Kate, wherever you are,
That is
for that.
brilliant. It is brilliant.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really says it all, doesn't it? That's so
hmm
good. But tell me, so then why did you start this business? How did you
Yeah.
go in this direction?
So it's I like to say that I actually got into this because of pantyhose. So I'm going to tell you about how pantyhose got me into this business. So my background actually, I went to UC Berkeley and I studied peace and conflict studies, and I was already working with students. I did mentoring and some academic coaching as an undergrad, but then after my undergrad, I was doing a lot of singing just privately as a hobby, classical singing, and I said, you know what, I've got to give myself the opportunity to try this out. So I went back to school. I got a second bachelor's degree in singing. And I got a master's in classical
Wow.
voice. And I was a working opera singer. And while I was starting out, I I had this audition for a major opera company, and I'd worked so hard. And I didn't at this time. I mean, this just gives you a little context, but I still needed pantyhose where you wanted to wear them rather than not wear them. You can get away with not wearing them anymore, right? But I go, and I'm singing this really hard aria, and I feel the elastic on the waistband of my pantyhose start to give out mid aria, and I feel them start to slide like my down my body, and thankfully, we did not have a moment where we had them gathered around my ankles or anything. But I just thought at that moment, after all that work, and to have something like that kind of muck up the works, needless to say, I did not get the role. But, what was really making my spirit sing at the time was not this hustle and grind of trying to make it as an opera singer. It was my other work, just working, you know, on the side with students and helping them with at the time I was a test prep coach, and I had started to dabble into college application essays, and that was really making my heart sing, and that was what planted the seed And so I've actually been in the higher education space for over 17 years. I was a standardized test prep coach, but then that kind of morphed into college essays, and now I'm a full service consultant. So yes, and guess what? No pantyhose required ever.
Exactly, right? Thank God. Yeah,
Right.
but wow, what like that is some transition, isn't it? Like,
Hmm.
wow,
Well, and
amazing.
interestingly though, I do feel that what I learned as an opera singer, I was having to market myself often. I was working with smaller companies and I had to kind of learn grassroots marketing and how to put myself out there and how to package my message, in addition to, interpreting the role and learning how to sing it. So I feel that, I'm just kind of I kind of think about my work with students as I'm just putting that creativity and creative energy on a different stage. And fortunately, it's this stage of their lives that's really, really impactful and it can be a really big transition. So it's more like I want this period of their lives to be a lot less stressful and a lot more memorable as, oh wow, I really gave myself the gift of deep reflection so that once they get to college, they don't have FOMO and they're not spending more than 4 years spending thousands and thousands of dollars because they haven't given it any thought. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. It is so important, particularly with the level of investment, but it's the beginning of it's kind of the beginning of their lives, and it's the beginning of their lives where they're not being so nurtured the whole way. They are way
mhm.
more autonomous, and they're way more out there on their own quite often.
Right?
So yeah, it's so important to get that choice right. Ah, wow. So then in terms of like working like what age group do you work with,
Sure.
and how has that all evolved?
Yeah, so, one of I think the biggest obstacles for me is that people are very aware that they might need somebody like me closer to the actual application time. They're thinking like third year or junior year, right? Okay, well, we need to start thinking about it. But I don't want to say at that point it's too late, but I do feel at that point the impact, the potential impact that coaching could have is a little reduced because the earlier that you start, and I would say, I don't work with students typically any younger than ninth grade. I have in the past, especially I had some really eager parents that were worried about like their student had anxiety about testing. So this is back to my test prep days. But even with middle schoolers, I have even started to develop some versions of my programs that I can do one-on-one with middle schoolers. But really, really, truly, I think it's important for parents and students to sit and talk about, just where the students' interests are prior to high school so that, you know, if a parent is familiar with what they want to do, great. They might not need as much coaching and help, but if they're not, it's really a good thing to think about. So my programs vary. I kind of, I'm gonna work on different, coaching and mentoring focal points at different ages. So in ninth and 10th grade, it's more exploratory. And, like an 11th and 12th grade is a lot more directed and we're a lot more focused on college. 10th grade is kind of that transition where I start folding in actual college talk. But yes, all the students I work with are college bound. And I do also work with some graduate students as well. So typically students that I worked with as undergrads who want to, go on to law school or med school. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Honestly, it's so good. It's such a great resource, to have that support at such a pivotal time when you are just in that like flux of I don't know what I want, and
Yeah.
especially like you just said, many parents, and particularly even more so now, they don't have the exposure to the career potential and the different types of, you know, careers
Right.
available to
Well,
this
yeah.
generation.
Yes. And to your point, this job, IEC or, educational consultant, didn't even really exist until around 2010. I mean, that was kind of when it started becoming an industry. So that it hasn't even been around that long. And, I also think it's important to remember that even if you feel like, oh, well, I'm an attorney and my student is telling me they want to be an attorney and that's what they're interested in, I still think it's really important to remember that in order to get to and through college successfully today, these high school students have to do it differently
Yeah.
than their parents did. It's just an entirely different ballgame. There are more students applying. You have test optional admissions. There's also the entire admissions structure and deadlines is it's completely different than when I was applying to school. So there's an immense amount of pressure on these students. There's all these other components. A lot of colleges are requiring optional video. And optional is not, we all know if you're wanting to apply to the most elite colleges, that's not really an option that you say no to, right?
No.
So now my work has expanded. I am now, I've now folded in video and interview coaching to my programs, and it's actually really taking off this year. So that's been exciting to see. But it's just completely different.
Wow. Gosh. Yeah. Like, when I think about my own college experience, it's just so different. And yeah, you better believe that the actual experience is different too. So,
Hmm.
wow. So tell me, what do they love about working with you? So I love the bubble wrap. So that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think,
speaks about it all. But what do they say they love about working with you?
I think that, what my students have said, I think one of the patterns that I notice is that, they say, Mindy, you're able to kind of find, my strengths and quirks and what makes me me and help me find the words for it in a way that I don't think I would have been able to on my own.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm always doing it, with from a place of just unconditional positive regard. I don't always get along or necessarily not get along, but I don't always agree with all of the, perspectives or opinions of my students. But that doesn't mean that I can't be 100% their cheerleader all the time in terms of what's in their highest good. Because colleges today, yes, and this goes back to my other point, like it's not just that they want a student who is demonstrating commitment to rigorous classes and getting great grades. That's a given. It's like that's a baseline. That's not, it used to be that that's what would get you in. You do really well in school, you do a variety of activities and you're well-rounded, and then you apply and you get in. But today it's like I'm almost in a way like I'm doing what you do, but in a different way. Like I'm helping them almost kind of try and discover their personal brand. At least what's the personal brand that we want to project, when we get to application time so that
Yeah.
we end up in a college that's a good fit.
It's so
So,
true, but it's so necessary. I remember um my youngest cousin for me,
mhm,
like
mhm,
is a good, nearly 20 years younger than me. And
mhm,
so when she was coming up to career stage, I was like, go and lock all your social media down. I'm doing a Google search of you and I don't like what I'm seeing, in terms of
right.
it's too open. So yeah, like we were saying, it's so different. There are so many things in terms of having a personal brand that our kids are experiencing openly and universally, digitally there
Hmm.
that we didn't have to think about. So
No,
yeah, and making the most of that first impression, when they
that's right.
haven't often even met the person, so
Right.
yeah,
Because you
fascinating.
just do not know when or if an admissions officer is going to Google you. You're exactly right. And that's why, yeah, and you've helped me create content for my students, related to LinkedIn. Like it's, it's all necessary because you have to cover your bases now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness, fascinating, fascinating. Like marketing just never ends, like it's
Yeah.
just fascinating. What part of your business, I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask the question anyway. What part of your business do you love the most?
Ugh, I love the one-on-one time with the students. And I've like fiddled around and thought about, well, how can I, make this a more passive product for the students? But I tell you what, there's just something about seeing that transformation happen with a student over, some of my students I've worked with for years. And in that relationship, there's more intensive periods of work, and then we'll have more distance. But, developing that relationship and then seeing them grow into this mature, independent per- young adult with this ability to clearly articulate what they want to be and do in the world is just lights me up. And I don't ever have a day where it's like, well, does my work have purpose and meaning? Like, of course it does. Like I get to work with all these amazing young people, and I truly feel like I met some of the most incredible students, and they're gonna save us all. I
Yeah.
hope. So it really does. It really fuels just my entire outlook on life. Like the idealism that these kids just
Oh,
pour out. It's great.
yeah, you have to help them protect it, it's
Yes, at all costs. At
yeah,
all costs. Yep,
yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
amazing, Mindy. Honestly. Honestly, it's so good. Um, like, how did you, so like, like, kind of bring it back to like a
Mhm.
business watching this and going,
Sure.
wow, I never even knew that existed.
Right.
But then thinking of this as like, you know, a business advice and
Mhm.
marketing advice and
Yep.
visibility advice, how within your sector, which is so niched, did
Mhm.
you grow your visibility?
It's interesting because I've gone and listen, I'm going to talk about the failures here. Okay. So, I thought I was a little late. And of course, I'm seeing all this content online. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have also. It's like, well, the heyday was 2021 and things are not the same and no one's buying anymore. But I was kind of late to it all. I started kind of investing and looking into what it meant to be an online business in early 2022. And over the last couple of years, I had been running my business, but that was when I decided to really incorporate and, kind of do things differently. And so I thought, okay, you know, I I'm gonna go all in and focus on social media. But what I've realized in terms of my visibility, I will tell you that here are the top three things. Number one, my actual face in person or in a Zoom room in front of people talking. Like that drives the most business.
Yeah.
And referrals from my existing clients. And I just feel like it's gotten to the point now where I'm at a wait list. I'm booked out almost entirely for 2025. And that's not, I didn't anticipate that happening that quickly, but what it's made me realize is that like you don't need a giant list. These are all the things I thought in 2020. You don't need a giant list. You don't need to be, making reels unless that lights you up. Notice I did not say that was my favorite part. And not that I don't want being on camera, but yeah, I want to focus my energy on the students and helping them achieve those transformations. And so I think, um, yeah, my visibility plan is really just about picking and choosing the right ways to connect and going to the places where parents that are really concerned and thinking long term about their children's futures are living. And I mean, LinkedIn is where it's at. I had just barely started, as you know. I'm just plugging this. Obviously, you're into LinkedIn if you're listening to this, but I had just barely started to polish my new profile, and I got a cold lead off of LinkedIn. I mean, and we had a sales call and we were going to work together, and it just ended up being a timing thing. And so I referred this client to a colleague of mine. But I could not even believe that that happened that fast. Whereas all these efforts I was putting on into Instagram, for example, just haven't panned out. So I'm really excited to dive into that. next year.
Yeah, definitely. I just think it's all about where you said it perfectly there. It's where the audience is at
Hmm.
and where their headspace is at and
Yeah,
where their focus is, you know.
right.
So and that varies from platform to platform, you know. So
Sure.
so yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of feedback I love to hear that, you know,
Oh, yeah. Well,
you
yeah,
know,
I mean, yeah. You want to
I
go
think,
where, go ahead.
sorry, to cut across you, I just think that like the lazy man's guide to LinkedIn is sort your profile out. Once you get that done, you know, you can be more proactive and it will certainly um reward you.
Hmm.
But should you need that? And it sounds like your business doesn't necessarily need that, you know, in its current you know, being. It needs your profile, but then you're getting on a call to sign people, you know, and
Right.
so yeah. Ooh,
Yeah.
exciting.
So, yeah, no, that's it's really great. And I think that, what I do appreciate about LinkedIn though, in terms of my business growth, is that that I just feel like more long form content is more acceptable on LinkedIn and expected. And I also think that, you know, I'm finding that, I'm connecting with people who have already probably invested a lot in their educations, in their college educations. And so they're already thinking, if they have children that are, in middle school or high school, they're already thinking about, okay, well, what's next and how do I prepare? And just to make sure that they're maximizing the investment that is a college education. And one of the best ways to do that is to plan ahead so your student's not spending more than 4 years there. So, yeah, and that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you promote your business? It sounds like you don't really need to, but you're starting more, you
Well,
know?
yeah. Well, traditionally, I promote my business through, speaking in other groups. So I have a pretty tight but active referral and colleague network. So I work with other educational consultants who don't do what I do. So I work with other coaches who coach essays, but maybe they don't feel as confident, preparing a student for an interview, or sometimes they have a client that wants a second set of eyes, and we're each other's second set of eyes. I also work with, and yeah, shout out to Lynn Fairchild Hawks of Success Story. She is I call her my office mate across the country. Based in North Carolina, but we trade a lot of business back and forth, and we even have a product together called Application Review. So that's actually what we're doing a lot of right now, because the next round of applications is due December 1st and then again January 1st. So we will do kind of like a tag team review of that. And then I also work with Dr. Liz Kreider, and she has a business called Passion Progress. And I kind of fold her into my full service work because she is a chemistry PhD, and she helps students develop really amazing independent project work over the long term. So yeah, I just kind of have this. I have those two, and I have a few others, and I feel like that's actually been what's worked the best. So, and I maintain a very, minimal presence on Instagram and on Facebook, but I'm out there and you can find me there as well.
Yeah, awesome. So, what's your dream for the next year for your business? Like, gosh, we're coming into 2025. So,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Well, so my dream right now is, I am the biggest proponent of telling people that your college major matters more before you get to college than it does during or after. And the reason that I say that is because, I just think that so many people don't know the dozens and dozens of majors at most campuses. There are climate change majors. There are all these different combinations and permutations of majors and minors that you can make. And I really want to write a bunch of blog content about this hill. Like I really want to be known as the college major gal, because I think that it is, just like you were saying, the lazy person's guide to LinkedIn. I think the lazy person's guide to figuring out what you want to do in college is to use and start researching college majors. That's what I do with my kids, and it helps light them up. And they go, "Oh, I didn't know that existed. I can do that. I can study that in college. How cool." Right? And that changes everything.
Wow. I didn't
Yeah.
know that either. That's amazing. But like
Yeah.
just what we were saying, like, I mean, like what I did for a living before this, I mean, honestly, like if
Mhm.
I had said to me back in like when I was a kid, oh, like
Mhm.
you'll be talking to somebody in America, on a computer and
Right. Exactly.
you'll help people to market themselves. Again, like this, like I have clients in the States, in the UK, and Ireland. Like little me would have been like, "Oh, but I want to be a cowgirl," like, or I wanted to be a solicitor, like so. It's like what? Uh, and but like even from when I went into marketing and I was a TV
Mhm.
buyer, even trying to explain that to my parents was difficult. And
Right.
I studied history and Italian at college,
Mhm.
so that whole idea of like different majors now, gosh, like climate change, like that would be an amazing major,
Right.
so
Right.
so and the people who study that are going to potentially save our world, I mean.
Right.
That's phenomenal. Like it's so
Right.
fascinating, isn't it? Like,
Right.
wow.
And like with what you do now, for example, and this is I also just love it because I go, "Oh, what would I major in now?" Like I think for you in marketing, yes, obviously you could major in marketing or minor in marketing. But there's also these great interdisciplinary majors, like one that I think would be exciting is behavioral decision sciences. So this is a mix, right, of sociology, economics, what are the factors in different disciplines that are influencing the decisions people make? And so, as somebody who might want to go into marketing, you think, okay, well, at least I either want that as a major or a minor because that's really fascinating and I'm gonna understand marketing from these, totally different angles. And so when I can help kind of sell kids on, look, here's this major you've never heard of that might be really great for you. It's awesome because everything changes. They get excited about doing things that will make them more appealing to those colleges with that major. And the essays take care of themselves because they already know how to explain it because they've lived through it. So it just kind of rolls out as opposed to the deer in headlights, they're juniors and they're like, I don't wait, how do I write this? How do I say what I want to do? So yes, behavioral decision sciences, that could have been for you if it
Yeah,
existed, right? Which it
yeah.
probably didn't back in
Yeah,
the
it did.
day. So
No, absolutely not. But the good thing about it is understanding people is the
mhm.
best thing that you could do if you want to learn how to market. So
Right
yeah,
or anything. I mean, talk about a useful major, behavioral decision sciences. You can
yeah,
apply that to literally any job
anything.
in any
Yeah,
sector.
yeah.
So,
Oh, that's so good. Oh my God, I have just so enjoyed talking to you and having you in the
oh, me too.
spotlight today. Honestly, it's just like it's such a perfect example of like a journey in a very different direction and how possible it is. And I really do want that message to reach people that dream your dream and then you can live your dream. Yes, it takes work.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna lie, nor are you. Yes, it takes a journey.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like your job it has been an evolution, but like, it is possible. It is possible.
Hmm.
So yeah, I bet you never would have told your like six,
No.
7-year old self that this is what you would be
Oh
doing.
no. 7-year-old Mindy, I used to say that I said, Mom, I want to be an actress on a soap opera because then I'll have work all the time and it lasts for years. This is me. I mean,
Oh my God, that's
is that
so
not hilarious?
practical.
This is a lot about me, right? I'll always have work. I mean, it just goes on and on and on because my mom watched the soaps during the day. It's so funny. I guess maybe I was younger even, who knows? But yes. I wanted to be an actress. But I do feel that, and then I was, training for a performance career. So that kind of tracked, but it I use my performance training and skills in analyzing text and helping students understand text all the time. So yeah, you can absolutely, to your point, you allow your dream to shift. And it's the biggest piece of advice that I give students that is actually my business advice for anybody listening is be micro ambitious, but like go all in on, don't get distracted by the shiny things. Like pick the one little micro ambition for the month or the quarter and just go for it, like whole hog. And don't worry about so much. Like if it's related enough to what you think you want to do, that's all you need and just go for it. And then that's going to lead into some cool and unexpected places.
Such great advice. Thank you so much for talking to me. Tell me, how can people work with you, Mindy?
Yeah, so people can work with me by going over to my website, which is minditrimble.com/mentoring. It'll be linked and everything. And you can, check out a little bit about my programs there and you sign up for a brief call and learn more about how I work with you. And I do small groups and I also do one-on-one. And while you're over there, you can grab my bubble wrapped college planning timeline as well and get on my list and learn more about what I offer throughout the year.
Oh, love it, love it, love it. Awesome. We will drop the links here
Great.
around, as I always say, because I can never remember whether it's up or down,
Yeah.
around our chat. Thank you
Awesome.
so much for featuring on the Business Spotlight. Thank you so
Oh,
much
thank
for
you.
joining us and experiencing this fabulous interview with Mindy. Thank you. See you soon,
Thank you.
Mindy. Bye.